We will be starting at 3810.
We'll be starting in 5 minutes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first DSE engineering workshop. First of all, making sure, is my voice very clear? Let me look at the chat. All right, sounds good. All right, today we're going to dive into the first engineering workshop, Intro to Work on a Project. And today we're going to dive deep into how could you get yourself working on a project and be able to be a part of something bigger. And so let's get started. First of all, I would like to mention that we have an upcoming engineering events in collaboration with IEEE and COFFEE. So we do have a schematic workshop that is expected to work on week 6. We do have a CAD design workshop expected on week 9, and then a progress check-in with IEEE and COFFEE, who will be taking care more of the logistics part of the project itself. And I really wanted to start by a quote that have really touched me. Failure is essential to engineering. Every single calculation that an engineer makes is a failure calculation. Successful engineering is all about understanding how things fall or break. And when I was looking for this quote, I've passed by something really nice, which is that engineer is basically someone that gets excited about things that no one cares about and solves problems you didn't know existed. And that actually caught me for a bit. Solves problems. Problems are all around us, but defining a problem itself is the main core of engineering. And so, since that quote struck me so hard, I think that we should start with that. So, we should know how to define a problem. That should be the introduction to work on any of engineering projects that we have out there. So basically, how we can narrow down the scope. How do we build a solution for an existing project that is occurring in our day-to-day life? First, you'd have to ask yourself, what exactly is the problem that I'm trying to solve? Look for a current solution if it exists and identify the shortcomings. Do some research, reflect on ideas, and modify and eliminate some bases on your research. Then select one or two of your ideas to tackle with a solution. And we're going to dive into examples during this session. So the roadmap. How do I get started? I think starting on a project is some kind of an adventure that you need to go back and forth between different steps of building your own project. First of all, we will start with the problem. How can you define your problem? And how can you define a problem very well that is not too broad or does not have that big of an impact or benefit for the people around you? Then we would dive more into research and how could you research for a project and go through that rigorous process. And then after doing the research and going through the problem, you would go through a narrow scope. You need to narrow your scope down to something that you can easily break apart and work on as a team. And then after going through all of that, then you would be able to work on your solution. This does seem like a linear kind of progression between problem, research, narrow scope, and then solution. But if you notice, both between the boxes, there are always arrows on both ways. And that means you might go to a problem, make some research, and then maybe got to know that the problem was not that significant in the first place. or it does require something that's beyond your scope or outside your time constraint. And we're going to talk more about that. So you might get back to the problem session and start working more on that. Or you might be at research and then narrow down your scope. But once you narrowed it down, you identified that it was too narrow and it could not be fixed by the tools that you already have. Then you might get back to research, identify newer tools, different implementations, or different ways you can implement your solution. And then going back to the solution, solutions might be temporary, might be an everlasting solution, but important it is that it should be a well-rounded response to the kind of problem that you've chosen in the first place. So defining a problem. I gave an example here about finding clean water. So an example of writing a problem may be many people struggle to have access to clean water resources, leading in decline population in villages in sub-Saharan Africa. So search for the root of the problem. Try to look for action words such as struggle in your problem statement and make sure that it highlights the problem that you're trying to solve. By reading a problem statement, you should be able to tell what kind of problem that you're trying to solve. In the second step, we'll write down the things that could help. So you would identify the root of the problem, since people struggle to find clean water due to bad infrastructure. All right. So then you would be thinking about, okay, what could help me with this? What are some resources that I could use and utilize to be able to get more information about this problem or be able to help achieve the solution that I'm trying to solve? And so I listed down some examples, like an online community to discuss and share some of the solutions of their problem, maybe reaching out to local non-governmental organizations and let them share some of the information with you, or look for other solutions that have been implemented. And so by having that well-rounded research, you'd have an idea of how the things are at the villages that you're trying to solve the water problem at, for example, by reaching to the local NGOs, or by discussing solutions with others that have had a lot of exciting ideas on that global community. And DSC is all about creating that kind of community around all different developer student clubs around the world. And look for other solutions that have been implemented. We believe that many solutions today have been implemented, but it does need that kind of exposure and expansion in the ideas. Step 3, do research, then modify and eliminate ideas. So, for example, an effective way to create water filters is from using household items and available tools. So if you're trying to use an electric pump and a motor in a sub-Saharan African village, it would not be very ideal since these kind of tools will not be available everywhere. So you would be using available tools such as barrels and recycled materials so that you can be able to um, create a kind of solution that everyone can implement easily. And utilize non-conventional ways to filter water. Since you're not going to basically import a water filter with you, you would have to come up with a solution or an idea of something that would be able to get that unconventional way to filter your own water. And that would be something extremely excited to see, since we have seen a lot of really exciting ways that people filter water. And I'm going to show one of them today. Yep. And so the video that I wanted to show you is one of the responses that people have taken into creating that kind of solution into clean water. Due to time constraints, we're not going over the whole video, but I want to give you a glimpse about it. Oh,
And the water underground contaminated with chemical everywhere. And then He feel bad that people in the village have to buy bottled water to drink. Water is everywhere. Why we need to buy water to drink? So he developed this technique of water filter system to help people to be able to have access to clean drinking water easily. So George Kern, he experiment a lot. He used the labs in Bangkok to test the quality of water for the first time for 3 years in one university. He sent the sample to test 2 times a month, every month for 3 years. And after that, he changed another labs and tested again another 2 years. And then he went back to America. He used the labs in Colorado.
Oh, I was all right.
The highest
So I
is
moved.
about 1
Yeah.
meter. The first thing we need to prepare is the 200 liters drums. We need 4 of them and clean them very well. The second thing that we need is a half-inch male and female threaded couplers, including the rubber gasket or rings. We need 8 sets of them like this. The third thing we need 1-inch male and female threaded couplers. We use it to filter.
I wanted you to notice the kind of solution that he used in order to build that filter. As you can see, most of the things that has been used are mostly things that are available in the village. And by creating that kind of water filter created by a 3-barrel system that you could see in regular water filter stations, that kind of approach was very important when it comes to creating a solution that is unconventional. So over here, you're seeing that he's creating some kind of a pump that would be able to later move the water down the fountain, down the flask when the water has been put in. He's filling up with yes. Okay. This is what I wanted to show you. Yeah. So you see how he was able to filter water using just regular um regular equipment that they have at the village. Oh my God. Yeah. So basically, the idea is that you can see that there are a lot of really unconventional ways that you could be able to do something like that. And therefore, I wanted to take you all on an activity so we can start doing that ourselves. I want you to create a list of 3 to 5 project ideas and have the project to solve a problem that you see in your society. Share the project idea with the chat to spark a discussion and find peers to work on your project. I think those projects might also be used for a solution challenge, which we have been talking about earlier during one of our events. And so, since the world is so connected these days, I believe that we'd be able to do something as cool as that. I'll give you 5 minutes for this discussion, but I'll be on the chat, so I'll be with all of you. You can get started. So I've seen Manu has talking about limited to access to technology for students in poverty. That's true. That has been always a problem that we have seen in sub-Saharan Africa. And there are a lot of NGOs and a lot of United Nations, and it's actually one of the United Nations sustainability goals is to be able to have that technology access for students in small villages. this is one tackle that you can use off since the problem is well defined in the scheme here. Upamanyu Kashyap has said that create a software that allows farmers to know when to add nutrients and or fertilizers to their crops and auto-detect pests. That sounds like an ENG3 project, honestly. So this is a pretty cool idea that you could also implement in any farmer's place, basically. Could be implemented even in Davis. And so ideas like these that are well defined are usually the ones that could be able to succeed. So, man, are you talking about making technology more affordable or making the devices, or are you talking about like a different idea? So, Dr. W has said an AI software to recognize when people have masks on properly. That would be a perfect solution for COVID, especially during these years where uh, people sometimes the masks do move as people speak and move, and that would be something extremely important to see. We do have some new electronic masks, but they don't have that kind of software. I think that would be something important to have. So we have Uniguin, which talked about create a simple platform for people to share their personal problems, to be able to find unity and comfort from others who experience the same, and promote mental health throughout sharing stories. Yes, we do have that, and we're thinking also of having that kind of platform so that people can share their own stories. I feel like a lot of us has been dealing with a lot lately, especially with everything happening, school, and all the kind of politics around us. So yes, I think that kind of platform would be a great solution for people who have been staying at home for more than usual. That sounds an awesome idea. And I think you could all have different approaches to it. I think for use idea, it would be more as a software kind of approach to it. And that would be something that would be extremely nice to see. We have seen some new applications coming up in Davis too. So that's nice to see. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on to the tools that would allow you to start working on the project. Of course, the event today is main catered to get you started on the project. And so later on in the upcoming engineering events, we're going to speak more and dive deeper into how are you going to use those tools in your projects. So the tools. The world today is so connected, but it's hard to believe that any workplace is struggling with lack of communications. Therefore, working in silos usually continues to plague the organizations of all sizes, and it causes that breakdown in communications, so it prevents companies from truly thriving. And therefore, we should have a main communications hub that would be able to give us that kind of communication network between us and our peers in the same communication. So, a main important question is how can an organization reckon with the realities of silos while simultaneously breaking down the walls to create more connected teams? And therefore, I've wanted to introduce Slack, Teams, or Discord whenever you find more comfortable to. At DSC, we use Slack. Since 24% of workers are dissatisfied with their communication at work, and 52% want a workplace where process is improving, this is a typo. So we want to be able to introduce you to some of those tools that would help you achieve that. So, of course, the goal for using any of those programs is provide a thorough onboarding process that sets tone for our workplace culture and inclusion, and consistently enforcing that culture that the company have by creating a workspace that basically has established a kind of collaboration and connects organically and prevents working in silos. Since Slack does offer a lot in terms of different channels and different ways that you can have bots on, it could be one hub for all your communication. okay, the one place to integrate all the tools that the team is using. And we're going to speak some about those tools that we're going to be using, but also there's a lot more that we can talk about. There's also, it is a way to bypass the bureaucratic bottlenecks that is usually available in organizations and clubs. Would be able to also develop a creative, collaborative solutions to work on the same projects. Since if you do connect to, let's say, GitHub, you would be able to solve and be collaborative. You'll be able to solve those kind of issues that arises in GitHub repository and be able to communicate yourself while doing both. You'll be easily be able to create new challenges and workspaces, and would have do not disturb mode that sets that work to life balance. And I believe that do not disturb mode is organically at 8 p.m. I see new ideas are coming up. I've seen from AHU that has talked about a platform focused on increasing media literacy to prevent the spread of fake news and help people understand the motives behind what they're consuming. That's a great idea. And that's one of the key things that we're going to talk about, mainly also during the solution challenge. But yes, there's a lot of different ways that you can approach that. You can approach that using APIs. You can approach that by filtering media, be able to establish some sort of a way that people could be available on social media. So there's a lot that you can do to basically have an approach for this problem. I'll be extremely excited to see what could you put in the chat. And so, since I mentioned GitHub, GitHub is an essential development platform that I believe should be leading any engineering team, any engineering or computer science team. So the GitHub basically would allow you to be able to work collaboratively on the same project. And that would be able to let you identify issues in the code so that your teammate can jump right into it. The best part about this is that once it's connected to Slack, you would be able to see those issues right on Slack and be able to reply them right on Slack. So makes the main hub even more powerful. So you will always get updates on what's happening in GitHub without leaving Slack. And you can also use the slash comments for GitHub actions, such as closing and reopening an issue or a pull request. I would also like to note out that this is also available in Teams. And there are a lot of different ways that you can get started on these projects. I would also like to mention Arduino IDE, since I do believe that many of you have had a lot of Arduino kits with you. So the main idea over here is how you can control an Arduino. An Arduino is a free program to control your Arduino devices. Coding would be mainly in C, and we are having a plan on maybe having a C workshop. So, and you can also look for a lot of examples on hackster.io. Hackster.io is a great way that you can find a lot of different projects that you could work on. And I would love to show that to you so that you can see what kind of different projects that you could be working on. So once you jump into hackster.io, you can see that there's a lot of projects that you can work on about. And most of these projects do give you the kind of tools that you might need to make this project a reality. Of course, that includes the CAD designs. Sometimes it does include codes and everything else. And you can see some of these ideas are pretty cool, like the Arduino robot arm, right? Once you get into any of those projects, you can see its difficulty over here and be able to find the full instructions, the time that would be taken to finish this project. I think something like this would be extremely cool if you're looking for something cool to be doing on during the break. And also, it would be able to help you if you're looking to find a solution for one of the problems. Over here, you'll find the list of components that you might need. and of course a 3D printer. If the ESDC was open, that would have been easier, but if you do have your own printer, that sounds amazing. And then these are all people that have shared their kind of robotic arm for that, in that case, where they could speak about all their part lists, what they've been going through, a kind of sometimes a YouTube channel link, which we have seen over here. And then you would be able to know more about that project in terms of circuitry, in terms of code, in terms of different ways that you can read the code. Things have been pretty cool on Hackster.io. I'm just giving you a kind of look at what kind of things that you might expect from being on Hackster.io. Awesome. So tools like these do help you in having that kind of project idea if you're still not very sure about what you can do, right? There's a lot of them over here, and there are millions of pages that you can look for. And so that would help you. Oh, the slides are not showing. Okay, I just noticed. Okay, this is the page that I was showing, and this is the tools I was talking about. This is the circuitry that I was referring to, and this is in addition to the battery and the motor. Does give you kind of what you should expect to see on the Arduino. Then also does provide the code. And of course, all of this is open source, so you can edit it to your own liking to be able to solve your own problem. But working on a robotic arm sounds cool, doesn't it? And many of other projects that I've spoken about. You can go to projects over here, be able to tell if you want some difficulty, if you want to work on some specific platform based on the kit that you've received, if you have some topic that you want to work on, or if you have any of these products that you want to look for. They're all in one place. This website was hackster.io that you can see over here. Yes. I don't know. Why is it not sharing? Oh yeah. Okay, now it should work. Okay, awesome. So yeah, on hackster.io, you can download these and be able to see these projects, as well as you can download also libraries onto your own Arduino IDE. And we'll have Energial and Code Composer. Those are how to control my TI device, since TI does have an Energial, which looks a lot like Arduino Studio, but is a little different. Of course, both are used for coding in C. They are free programs that you can control your TI device. And Energia is the kind of toned down version of Code Composer. Code Composer is more advanced, and you would be using Code Composer in classes such as EEC 10, which is Intro to Analog and Digital Systems. Of course, you'll also find a lot of examples online, and you can download libraries if you want to use it with different tools, such as having that kind of, let's say, an I2C display that you want to have the Arduino or Energia connected to. Yes, TI Texas Instruments. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to jump into Autodesk and Fusion 360. So how to create a CAD case for my project. This is very important because some of you might have a really brilliant idea, but you want to make it also look good. So in order to do that, you would have to get on one of the CAD design workshops. Of course, we have Autodesk, we have Fusion 360, and SolidWorks, and many others. But we believe that today we're going to focus more and on our engineering workshop that's happening later this quarter. We're going to focus more on Autodesk and Fusion 360, specifically Fusion, since it will be available on both Windows and Mac. SolidWorks is only available on Windows. So those are free tools that are available with your UC Davis email. And of course, there's a CAD design workshop happening on week 9 so that you would be able to 3D model your designs and be able to 3D print them, as you might see in some of the Hackster projects. Since Hackster does provide you with the file itself, it is always better to work on your designs yourself. And so, of course, you'll be able to design your ideas mechanically, also for engraving, using one of these tools. I would also like to shout out Upa for creating that project that you would see on the right. He would be the one on the CAD design workshop expected on week 9. That was a pretty cool idea of constructing a music stand that would adjust the height using a kind of just regular movements. It looks pretty cool. It is one of his cool designs that he's done, and I believe he'll share much more once you're on the workshop on week 9. And so that's it. That's all I wanted to share with you today. And I believe that we will be going, like we mainly went through the ideation process during this workshop, and we believe that we'll be diving deeper into hands-on workshop once you all be able to get your kits and get started on your projects. And so we will be here to answer any questions people might have. Yeah, Ufus, thanks for the shout out. That's great. Yes, EEC 7 and 89D use that too. 89D, yeah. I don't know many students have taken 89D, but I've taken it myself. Yeah. So there's a lot of kits that UC Davis uses for TI, mainly when it comes to an MSP 432 or a kind of more advanced RSLK kit that's used mainly in EEC 10. There's a lot you can do with these kind of boards, so that would be great to see. Yeah, the music stand, it's beautiful. That's awesome. Yeah. And if there's anything that you would like to see, we're always open to suggestions. This is the first DSC engineering workshop, and we're excited to be diving deeper into that. And so we will always be open to suggestions and or any kind of comments that you might have. Man, there's no Discord for DSC. We do have a Slack, and the Slack is mainly for the team members. But if you want to reach out to us, you can always email us or go to our website at ucdavisdsc.com. And our email, if you want to reach out to us, is dscucd@gmail.com. Thank you, Lolita. That's awesome. We do have a lot planned up for engineering, and we can't wait to get started on that. We'll be hanging out a bit for questions, but if not, that sounds great. We're also really active on Instagram at DSC_UC Davis. That's true. That's where we mostly post our events. Mundavi aesthetic. Yeah, of course. Thanks, Abdullah. Thank you, Upa. So that's great that you found it informative, and yeah, we're always open to suggestions. I believe that there is always more to go. That sounds good. Yeah, we might reach out to you with that, but for now, I think what you should do is sign up for our events page. Once you go into our website, which is www.ucdavisdsc.com, on the event page, you'd be able to join our chapter. And once you join our chapter, you'll always be able to get that. You'll always be able to get into our system, so you would know more about our events. And once we launch something like that.